This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank who? Skinner on Absolute Radio.
An excuse to say who.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane as ever. You can text the show on 81215. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Or you can email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. If you can write that quickly.
You've got a bit of hesitation about that, haven't you?
Yeah, that's why I only ever did Just a Minute once and was never invited
Because of the
back.
hesitation.
I kept getting, before I'd answered, I'd take a breath to speak and someone would jump in and say hesitation. It's
yeah.
And Nicholas Parsons said you have to take a breath while I'm actually saying, moving towards you. I mean, no one had told me that.
You know what my problem is with that? It really comes down to, look, do you want it quick or do you want it funny? Okay.
I've asked a lot of people that over the years. Al's good at it, aren't you, Al?
Oh, Al is good at it.
A bit.
You've been a regular.
I've got an email here from the land down under, giving you some more advice about how to do that email thing. They say, "Hi Frank and team, I've been listening to your podcast." He probably means I've been listening to your podcast, but I won't do the accent all the way through. And it seems you are still unresolved about your email introduction. If I could offer some advice from the land down under, the word to use instead of on would be using. So the introduction would be email the show using frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. And get this for a handle, all the best, Nick Sperrin-Jones, Melbourne, Australia.
I bet he gets some stick in Melbourne for being called Nick Sperrin-Jones. I love Melbourne. You go out to St Kilda, the lovely little balconies with like Regency wrought iron. Anyway, it's a great place.
Nick probably wonders if his advice is being ignored because you're having some Melbourne nostalgia.
No, it's not being ignored. It's a perfectly good. I'm a bit down on Australians at the moment. I'll be straight with you. It's been a difficult morning.
Or is that the cricket thing, darling?
Yes, the cricket thing.
Oh.
Anyway, let's not go into that.
No.
I mean, it's done. Oh, I'll tell you what I did this week. I attended the carol service of the ABFC.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, I was wondering how he was getting on. It's been a while since I've heard from him.
Yes. Well, actually, my first... when you get your first Christmas card of the year, it was from the Archbishop of Canterbury. I mean, that's pretty good going, isn't it?
I mean...
Pretty good going. There's an excommunication in the post, probably, if the parish priest hears this, but still.
What does he say, Frank? Yeah. Does he just sign it...
Well, him and his wife sign it, and it's just, I can't remember. They don't write a big message, but it's a lovely thing to get. Can I just stop? I was really sad last night that Mike Nesmith died. I loved the Monkees. I collected the cards. I got a woolen hat like his. I love the music. And he had a single. I've completely gone off. I just saw him on the telly. He had a single out, which there's about 10 songs that I sing all the time throughout my life. And one of them is Rio by Mike Nesmith. I'm gonna hide out in Rio. So, God bless Mike Nesmith. And his mum, of course...
Invented Tipp-Ex?
And I heard David Irving's the right-wing historian on a radio show once, and he said women have never invented anything. He was a lovely bloke, David Irving.
Wow.
The woman interviewing him said, well, I think they invented Tipp-Ex. He said, well, they need to invent Tipp-Ex. So the negative side of life, as well as the great positive of the fabulous Mike Nesmith. God bless him.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So I tell you what, I was doing a reading at the ABFC's Christmas carol service. I was reading T.S. Eliot's The Journey of the Magi, which is, Three Wise Men story, poem. And I got to tell you, Zena Badawi said to me after that I read it better than T.S. Eliot. What about that on the posters, Al? Hey, for Edinburgh.
High praise. Yeah.
So I did a preamble. It was a mini Frank Skinner poetry podcast. I did a little preamble because I think when you just read a raw poem straight out like that, it's hard. If you're not familiar with it, it's quite hard to get everything or really anything. And I did. There was two. I started off. I tell you what, I'm just going to say what I said, and I thought there was a bit of. Perhaps I picked the wrong audience for this, but this is a true story.
I hate it when you say that. It always means you have.
It's a true story. We got our nativity scene out ready, for part of our Christmas decorations. We got a little nativity scene which I bought in New Mexico many years ago. And the baby Jesus has gone missing. We can't find the baby Jesus, which is obviously quite a big omission from a nativity.
Crucial.
It's like those Elvis the concert things when all the backing musicians are there from the original Memphis shows, but there's just a gap in the middle of the stage. So I came down. This is how I told it. So I came down the next morning.
You told us to the congregation.
To the congregation, yeah. So I came down the next morning, and where the crib was, Bars, my son, had put a crucifix instead. And I thought, spoilers. And some people laugh, but with some people there was a real sense of no, that I'm not having that. And obviously it was meant, it was meant in the nicest.
I think that is a very fine joke.
No, but it led. The reason it wasn't a joke. It's true.
It's true. It's funny because it's true.
Yeah, but the reason I told it is that poem talks about were we at a birth or a death, and it's the three wise men talking about this baby being born to. What happens to him after and all that. So it sort of led me into the, come on. I thought this was a good joke that got nothing. And it was one of these, you must have done this, Al, when you do a joke and then you actually say, I thought that would have gone better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Frank, that's all you do. Is say, I can't believe people didn't laugh at my
Listen
jokes.
to this. I said, there's three wise men, they're moaning about what a really tough journey and how difficult it was. Oh, they do that. They really moan in the poem.
You sound like you think they were in Weatherspoons or something, just three old men moaning.
But moaning about the motorway, I tell you what, mate, the pile up.
But it is like that. I'm going to read it in a minute if you're not careful. So anyway... I said, they moan about getting into Bethlehem and how I said, we all know how difficult it is to get last-minute accommodation on a bank holiday.
Lovely.
And I don't think anyone got the bank holiday joke. And I thought, I thought if this was a Catholic crowd, they'd
When
have
you
roared.
said you don't think they got it, did they?
You got a tough crowd.
Yeah.
Were they not? They weren't laughing enough. What were they?
No, they weren't. It was they sensed a joke. They sensed the rhythm of a joke, but they could find no joke.
Oh, Frank.
Still, I read it better than T.S. Eliot. Have you ever read? I'm just going to. I know I'm not going to go on about poetry, but I'm going on the lighter side of poetry, so it's accessible to all. T.S. Eliot reads in The Wasteland. There's a bit in The Wasteland which you probably know, where he talks about Madame Sosostris, the famous clairvoyant, and that's what I've always read it as. Madame Sosostris, the famous clairvoyant, had a bad cold. That's what the line is. And T.S. Eliot says, Madame Sosostris, the famous clairvoyant. And I always love that. I've never heard anyone else say clairvoyant in the midst of a bit of English. So from now on, if Russell Grant gets mentioned, Russell Grant the clairvoyant, I'm set. I'm ready for it. Who's in the clairvoyant seat at the
Mystic
moment?
Meg?
Mystic Meg still isn't in the seat, is she?
Who's taken over? There was Eileen Drury.
Justin Toper. It's a great 12, 15. Who's in the clairvoyant seat at the moment?
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You've been telling us about your ABFC gig.
Yeah,
Gig at the
my gig at Lambeth
church.
Palace.
You refer to the wise men / kings. Make your mind up, guys.
I mean, let's face it, there's rarely any crossover between royalty and wisdom. One of the few cases, I would say, and I haven't got any big thing against the royals in this country, but I'd say saying things that have been said a lot as if they were very, very new and exciting things was one of the... I suppose they don't want to say anything controversial, but you know. But anyway, wise men stroke kings, yeah. Stroke Magi.
/ clairvoyant.
Well, they weren't actually clairvoyant. I suppose they had...
mystical properties.
They did look at the stars too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, you may recall, Frank, I once had an issue which I discussed on this show with the song lyric Early in the morning.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that?
Is it Early or is it Eli in the morning?
No, it's Early.
Okay.
And that's what I objected to, is that it's sort of pirate speak, and they don't attempt the pirate speak in any other part of that.
Okay.
So it's just, what should we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning?
Yeah.
Similarly, discuss we three kings of Orient, R. I'm not having that. They abandoned that structure elsewhere in that.
Well, I think you got to get the rhyme. You got to get the rhyme, love.
Yeah.
No, that's
Spoken like
that'll
someone that
do.
truly appreciates poetry there.
Well, I mean, trying to rhyme something with Orient is a horrible night. You don't want to get disoriented. So, I think I'm all right with that. I'm all right with moving.
Josh Jeffrey
George Jeffries.
Josh Jeffrey says the other day he heard someone say, "All right, Mystic Meg."
Oh, so she probably is still in the clairvoyant chair.
She's still holding on to the chair.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that probably is true. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure that the horoscope thing is quite what it was, is it?
No, it's dwindling, isn't it?
I remember when it was... people used to buy things like Old Moore's Almanac. Do you remember that? It used to be a little... tiny little magazine, all sort of rough old paper. And it used to say things like how you could do spells to make you rich and stuff like that.
That's what you did, isn't it?
Yeah, worked a trick.
And Frank, on the subject of the missing baby Jesus...
I've just had an idea.
Oh, go on.
What about if Magic FM for Christmas changed their name to Magi FM? They could just put like a Father Christmas face over the sea on all their advertising. That would be great, wouldn't it? And every show presented by three presenters at the same time. And then they could have Magic Gold, which I think... Does that already exist? Magic Gold? Magic Gold, Magic Frankincense and Magic Myrrh. Come on, guys, make it happen. And as for Pret a Manger, they're missing a trick.
God.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
And one thing I didn't tell you is that when I was at Lambeth Palace, a man came up... in a dog collar. There was a few of them about, obviously. They're a very nice crowd, I have to say, the Anglicans, despite what my dad said. And this guy was talking, and Buzz said to him, what do you do? And he said, I'm a reverend. And Buzz said straight off, did you punch Alice Cooper in the face? And this bloke was like completely, sorry? And I had to explain that there's a line in No More Mr. Nice Guy when the singer goes to church and the Reverend Smithy recognised me and punched me in the nose. Do you remember that line? Anyway, it caused some confusion, but I enjoyed it. Can I tell you another Christmas thing I did this week?
Please do.
I went to Kew Gardens.
Lovely. Very civilised.
Obviously, it took ages to get in.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Hey!
Like it.
And It's their Christmas at Kew thing.
Does Kew have an earthy
to
brown sign directing you to it from the road? Because I do like an earthy brown sign.
I think it has a sort of an old, slightly battered metal white sign with black writing on it. It's probably been there since the 70s.
Okay.
Which I kind of like. But I have to say, I would recommend, and I'm not on any sort of, I'm getting no money from Kew.
Well,
It's
it'd be
brilliant.
very hard for them to figure out what commission you're owed from mentioning them on the radio.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that would be a strange
Per person.
ambassador role. I think we'd like to get Frank Skinner on board as the brand ambassador for Kew Gardens.
But what's brilliant is when you walk around there, and it's like a light, Christmas lights, and there's a fair, and there was a fair actually. My son and my nephew Elliot went on the carousel, and I was, while they were going round, obviously got a bit bored of watching them after the 9th revolution, and so I started looking. It's a very ornate
All right,
carousel.
Marie Antoinette.
So underneath it, I could see they had a picture of Isambard Kingdom Brunel with his name and a picture of him. And I thought, well, I suppose he's an engineer, and this is like an example of engineer. And then there was George Stephenson, he of the rocket.
Yeah.
And I thought they're just celebrating this engine. And then the next one was Captain Mannering from Dad's Army. Bit of a random. Where does he fit in with the carousel thing?
Yeah, I'm sure one of our readers will be able to enlighten us.
Stupid boy. But I tell you, when you mention things and then they crop up almost immediately afterwards, do you know that phenomenon? So I went, we had some, do you know churros?
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know what they're like. They're sort of donut material, but they're in sort of stick form.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, like long, stringy donuts.
Very
isn't it?
popular with the youths now.
And are they?
Oh, yes, they like to dip the churros.
Oh, you got to dip them. But what
do you dip them in?
flavour dip did I get?
Caramel?
Butterscotch.
You
I
never.
said last week on the show that butterscotch had gone. And then I went to the English National Opera to see HMS Pinafore, who was starring in it, Les Dennis, a guy who we had a text in about what would be the name of his autobiographical Edinburgh show. It's like the whole show is caving in on me. It's a weird... A very weird thing. I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't bump into a clairvoyant when I get out of the studio.
They wouldn't be surprised.
No, they definitely wouldn't. If there's anything any good about them.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Anyway, so I was walking around Kew Gardens, and it's quite a long thing. You get your money's worth, and then we saw Father Christmas in the distance.
Oh, yeah.
So as we approach Father Christmas, there's two women behind me, two women about my age, I suppose, and one of them said, "At last, something a bit Christmassy." We'd passed enormous globes lit up, Christmas tree gates, which sort of shape, big giant Christmas gifts, snowflakes. But anyway,
they get about.
yeah, at last something a bit Christmassy. And I saw Father Christmas look across, and I thought, I wonder if he's thinking a bit Christmassy. It's not a great billing, is it, for Father Christmas? I mean, you're not going to get much more Christmassy than that. You can't please people. I went and got a hot chocolate at one of the booths.
Nice.
And I said, "Can I have a hot chocolate, please?" And the woman said, "Loaded." And I said, "Mind your own business." And she didn't seem to get it at all. But I didn't. Do you know this term?
Public domain.
I love that. Do you know what, though, Al? I mean, firstly, he had the congregation at the ABOC. Now he's got the hot chocolate vendor. I mean, you do... I'm just saying, as a friend who loves you so dearly, you do go around hunting, don't you?
Well,
For
I
the
can't.
bad reception.
They fall off me like wind fall fruit. I can't. I have no say in it. They're out there. I didn't know the phrase. Did you know the phrase? Loaded for a hot chocolate.
What does it mean?
Does it mean they're putting stuff on it?
It means you got marshmallows and cream and all that on top of it. Rather than just...
Can I be honest? I would have thought, Al, that was a reference to the old New Lads. I would have thought she was saying to Frank, you're responsible, New Lads.
Do you think she was at the ceremony when I won Chap of the Year?
Did you?
And got a leather Planet Hollywood varsity jacket. That's my prize. That's possible. There was no religious imagery, can I say, at the Christmas Kew.
What?
They want the uniform and the medals, but they don't want to fight the war.
Okay, Frank.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
We've all had a drink.
Okay. But it was great. I'd recommend
With
it.
loaded, Al, what does loaded constitute? I mean, is this
I think
whipped
it's
cream?
sort of marshmallows, cream, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they squirt cream out of one of those squirty cream things, and then they drop. Actually, what they did, they put some little marshmallows and then the cream on top of that, and then they put marshmallows on top of the cream. So it's a sort of a cream sandwich.
I feel like hot chocolate is somewhat nicking the term loaded from the potato skin world on the menu.
Is
The loaded
that
potato
right?
skins.
Fighting talk.
That's what I think's happening.
I wasn't even familiar with loaded potato skins.
They're a thing.
Yeah. But anyway, you heard it here first. When next time you order a hot chocolate, brace yourself for that information.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show using frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
I like that.
Okay.
You told us a story earlier, Frank, one of your little stories.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of your little stories about a hot chocolate that you had at Kew Gardens. And I'm just giving a little recap if anyone's had a line this morning. And the woman who gave it to you said, loaded.
Well, loaded question mark.
Juan Lyle has been in touch.
Huh? Yeah.
Maybe loaded wasn't asking if you were, rather a statement, you must be.
Oh, right.
Was the hot chocolate frightfully expensive? Can I just say, wonderful use of frightfully, Juan.
Yeah.
My kind of person.
I like frightfully. It was, it was sort of London event. Standard price.
So yes, then.
So yes to 80% of our listeners. Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like what's the word that people use for something that it wasn't prohibitively expensive.
In what context is that most frequently used? Would you say
prohibitively expensive? I don't know.
I feel it's an unwieldy word. Therefore,
I use that phrase a lot, mainly when I'm prohibiting expenditure.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. When is it used? Prohibitively expensive.
Okay, we'll have a little think on that.
Not easy to say, as you said. That probably puts people off here, and they go for some sort of synonym.
Yeah, I know.
Like very.
Yeah. Or how much?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Or a tad. A tad is simple. We've also... Sorry, Al, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh.
I think
Feel free to. We're on a national breakfast radio show.
I think Tad is downgrading prohibitively expensive. It makes it sound too in reach.
It makes it sound like it's a little bit.
If that's the first time ever on radio that someone said, I don't want to say anything.
No, you said, was I going to say something?
I'm sorry, I thought I interrupted you. Frank, we've had a lot of people getting in touch congratulating you on your show this week.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with the show in question?
Yeah, the title is so long I can't remember it, but it's basically me and Denise Miner on the Wordsworth and Coleridge road trip.
And it's on, I'm going to watch it on, is it?
It's on Sky Arts.
Sky Arts, one of my favourites. Tim in Dublin has been in touch. Dear Dear Frankincense, Christmas one for you there.
Nice.
I really enjoyed your show with Denise Miner this week. I especially enjoyed the ham shank scene. It's all gone a bit Silence of the Lambs. It's not. I'll continue. I did notice, though, that when the shanks arrived...
Yes.
You were drinking out of a stemmed glass. Then, a moment later, they had transmogrified, we'll put the pin in that, into tumblers.
Oh, really?
All the while, the pork dishes remaining steaming hot. Amazing.
Oh.
I love the show.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Well, obviously our dialogue was riveting. That you were noticing the receptacles above everything else. But I don't know what happened there. I think I was on ginger beer that night. I drank from a stemmed glass at Lambeth Palace the other night. Shall I tell you for why?
Go on.
Because at the buffet, they had those, those clips you get on the side of a plate at a buffet where you sit your little stemmed glass. They had those babies.
Of course they do. It's the ABFC. So proud.
I find I've got such a sticky Adam's apple, I can actually secure a plate with one of those to avoid... and then I eat straight from the plate with no need for a knife and fork.
Like a sort of portable trough.
Yeah, exactly. There isn't enough... I think the portable trough market has been largely ignored. Perhaps people feel it'll be... probiscuously expensive. Not that good. I thought that was a bit... Didn't quite reach the trapeze. I find myself in midair.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had an email during the week about butterscotch that we discussed last week, and I've already mentioned that I would like... You eating crisps, Frank?
Yeah,
No.
he always does that.
Definitely not. That's my bones. Remember, I'm at my age, my bones are like aero.
On last week's show, Frank lamented the demise of butterscotch-flavoured foodstuffs. I can confirm to my cost that it still exists, and they've launched into an anecdote here, but one that I think is worth sharing. Whilst holidaying a few years ago outside Oban in the west coast of Scotland, nice spot, I stumbled upon a delightful coffee shop which served a butterscotch latte. In a moment of tongue-tiedness, can I say I enjoy tongue-tiedness? I ordered a butternut squash latte. This resulted in a baffled stare from the waitress, who asked me to repeat myself, to which I said again, oblivious to my mistake, butternut squash. The pair of us still bemused. I pointed to it on the menu and misread out loud butternut squash again. Comprehension dawning on her, she very kindly read it out correctly as butterscotch, which elicited laughter from the other patrons. I've returned there since, but haunted by the experience, have not tasted one. Again, yours embarrassedly, Chris, a PhD chemistry student who should know better.
Well, you'd think a PhD chemistry student could knock up a butternut squash latte on their own.
You would think so.
I like the idea. I like the idea of, as in the coconut-based cocktail, of hollowing out a butternut squash, which you could then drink the butternut squash latte from through a straw. How about that? Nice. Anyone planning a Christmas party? Go for it.
Oh, I love it. Frank, guess what? We've heard from one of our readers in the UEA.
You're moving a bit off the mic.
I do apologise.
Sorry, at my age, I'm not. Don't make me reach for my trumpet, Emily.
Loaded. We've heard from a long-time reader. They've said long-time Middle East reader.
Okay.
Praise redacted. They're in the UEA. If you're looking for a Christmas present for Buzz, look no further than a black chicken. I'm just seeing a newspaper article here. There's a black chicken breed which is finding a big market in the UAE. An actual chicken, an actual black chicken, Frank.
Yeah, I don't think I'm. My dad kept chickens for
Did
years,
he?
and I found they attracted rats quite often. He once, I remember, went into the chicken run with his trousers tucked down his socks and a garden fork.
Oh yeah.
With a rat at one end, and I don't have that level of testosterone that I could pull that off. I'd have to get a man in to deal with it.
I
That'd be so
imagine
pathetic.
your dad is the sort of person I can't imagine. I mean, I'm not saying he did have this, but a ferret in the trouser might have happened.
He did have a period of having a ferret during his poaching. Yes, when he used to knit nets. But he had an attitude to animals which wouldn't work in the modern world. I remember there was
Don't tell me these stories. They really distress me.
the chickens started eating they started eating their own eggs.
No.
Okay. Do you want to know? It's a
Okay, what happened?
it's a helpful, cruel tip for chicken keepers. So what he did, he took an egg, he blew the egg. You know, you put a hole in each end and blew the egg and put mustard in it, and took the water out of the chicken shed, and waited about an hour. And they never ate the eggs again.
Okay, no one do that.
No, don't do it. I'm not condoning it for 1 second. It's cruel and mistaken. But, but those who ignore history are condemned to relive it.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Hey, I've been watching on Disney Plus
Oh, yeah.
The Beatles, Let It Be.
Oh, how's it going?
Which is, it's like a Big Brother, but with the Beatles, if they were in the house together.
It's a big time commitment, though, isn't it?
Well, I've only
Is it
just
8 hours
started
or
it,
something?
but I can imagine when I was living at David Baddiel's flat when we first started living together, I could watch MTV for 7 or 8 hours in a block. And I didn't mean to, but I always, just one more video. Just one more video. And I feel I could really wallow in the Beatles, Let It Be. It's just...
Yeah.
There's no... I like the fact that not that much is happening apart from the Beatles are making a bit of music. But there's lots of just chat and people having sandwiches and stuff. It's great.
I might get involved in that.
It's great.
Sounds good.
Anyway, it's... Yeah, give it a go.
Al, would you care to share the recent hot chocolate update?
Well, Frank told, I'd say an anecdote about ordering a hot chocolate and the woman saying loaded, and now you've kick-started a hot chocolate anecdote. 537 has contributed. Ordered a hot chocolate at a booth at Woodhall Spa a few years ago. Would you like onions with it? What? Would you like onions with it? A hot chocolate? Oh, I thought you said hot dog.
Oh, that's
There's been a lot of butternut squash lattes, and what is wrong with people? We can't communicate anymore. I blame the mobile phone.
Do you know, talking of would you like onions with it? I mean, one of the worst phrases I've ever heard in my life, as you know. I've joined a lovely group.
Onions.
Yeah, well, I've joined an online group. It's called Onions Are Awful.
Oh, okay.
And we share stories.
People are really scratching around for something that you can publicly hate without being cancelled, aren't they?
Frank, do you
Yeah.
know what? It brings me a great deal of solace. And we share stories, empathise. There's a number of people, I think there's over 4,000 members of this group. And they just share stories about terrible encounters they've had with onions and why they get upset by them. I've had people saying, I don't know what to do about my girlfriend. She puts onions in salads. And someone will respond, bro, this is serious. You can't continue with this. But
Get rid of her, that sort of thing.
It's great that the internet brings together people with specialist interests.
Well, you know,
in that way.
Yeah.
someone posted the
You
other
know
day.
that, don't you?
Oh, I don't want to be reminded.
I don't.
Someone got very upset saying the other day someone told me to get over it. I will never get over it. I'm almost 40. And there's a lot, we talk about red onions, how this time of year can be tricky.
Do you mention scallions? Does that come up?
Can I say why I like scallions?
Go on.
Because I feel it's a portmanteau
Okay.
word in some way. Like scoundrels and onions are in there somewhere.
Okay.
And they're acknowledging how verminous they are.
Well, okay. I think it's good that people know what they like and what they don't like. I can't think of anything that I have strong enough antipathy towards to join a chat room. But I wish I could.
It's not a chat room.
Isn't
Right,
it?
you don't have chat rooms anymore.
Oh, don't you? Sorry, I don't. Like I say, my knowledge
It's
of the
called
internet
Reddit.
is...
It's like a thread you have.
Oh,
you know
it's
Reddit?
Was it a
Reddit,
Reddit thread?
Yeah, it's a Reddit thread. I love my Reddit friends.
Okay, and what's it called? We hate onions.
Well, I'm afraid there's an expletive in there, which I won't
no,
say.
we don't want that.
Of course we don't.
No.
But it's a
good.
lot of Americans, and they've become my friends.
Oh.
Cool.
You sound a bit
Okay.
worried about this.
Well, you know,
Comes across the ocean.
you could bring out a book called The Internet Without Tears. Right.
Lovely.
By the way, I was reading a Nick Laird poem, and according, if the poem is true, tears that are caused by onions or maybe by smoke, those kind of tears, rather than the tears of sadness, have got less manganese in them than the tears of sadness. I thought it was interesting.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We were just discussing somebody ordering a hot chocolate and being offered onions with it because of some confusion between hot chocolate and hot dog. Well, here's another thing that could be the result of some confusion, but is actually genuine, legit, as you would say, Frank. Heinz, the popular condiment
Legit, as
company.
you would say, Frank.
Yeah, that's my new thing. I legit love it.
I'd never
He
think of
legit
it
loves it.
as you would say.
He did.
Anyway, Heinz.
Sorry.
Heinz, the popular condiment company,
Yeah.
are launching a chocolate orange mayonnaise. Terry's chocolate orange mayo.
Ooh.
Well,
That's a juxtaposition.
Do you think?
isn't
See, Simon should have got the call by now.
it? What's he called?
Simon Mayo.
Yeah, he should have had the call for
Simon
the
chocolate
collab.
orange mayo.
I think Commode has gone off on his own now. I see him on the telly a lot on his own.
Was he advertising? I'm trying to think with that name.
Imagine at that meeting when he said, "Hold the mayo." Oh, man. Still, they don't last forever. Yes, so yes. I don't. It's one of those where I can taste the mayo in it, just hearing it.
Yeah.
And I don't mind mayo, but I don't know if I'd want it on my TCO.
They've joined
What's your
forces
TCO?
with
No, TCE wouldn't it be? Sorry. TCO, Terry's
TCO.
Chocolate Orange.
TCO.
You
I
put
see.
doubt in my mind, Al.
They've joined.
No, I was trying to figure out what it was that you meant.
K-pop.
They've joined forces. Frank,
Yeah, sorry.
don't be silly, Billy. They've joined forces with Hellman's, and now I can imagine that's not a brand you're fond of. It just sounds a little bit too.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay, but don't say that in front of ABFC.
But is it to put on sweet things or savoury things?
I'll tell you exactly
Well,
what
the
it's
article
for.
I read, the person just ate it out of the jar with a spoon.
I'll tell you exactly what it's
It
for.
can't be what it's for.
I-
So, Aldic, does this mean that Heinz have now got 58 varieties?
Oh, lovely.
Because they always used to advertise the fact that they had 57. I haven't heard another one announced for a while.
Well,
Although that must be ketchup, surely.
what they've said, Frank, is that you spread it onto your croissant, your brioche, or your pancakes. I mean, I'll bear that in mind next time I'm having a continental breakfast in 1974 hotel. Who has croissant in this day and age?
I do like the sound of it, though. The whole... I wouldn't mind giving it... It's a limited edition thing, isn't it?
Oh,
There's only 200.
I mean... What's going on? You're trying to make it exclusive. Are people going to buy it?
Yeah.
People will buy it just for laying down and not actually consume it. Yes, I'm just going to try a little bit of... Oh, it's... Oh, I'll tell you what I saw the other day, by the way. I saw a man standing at a bus stop in front of the, I'm slightly obsessed with the Johnny Depp Savage. Johnny Depp, it's sort of an advert for not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
They had that advert with Johnny looking very Johnny, and but a bloke was standing in front of it at the bus stop, and it really looked like it just said sausage. And if that had been an advert for sausage that Johnny Depp was doing, so you realise that the wolves are following him through the desert because he's got the old string of sausages like they used to have in the Beano. He would have gone up in my estimation, and let's face it, he's got a long way to go up at the moment after that one.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We're talking about Hellman's. What is it actually called, this extraordinary
I thought it
food
was
stuff?
Heinz.
Heinz Terry's
Is it
Chocolate
Heinz?
Orange Mayo.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll let them
I
know.
like it when brands diversify a bit, though. You get like Marmite biscuits and stuff like that. I think it's. I quite like that. Obviously, not everyone likes those.
Yeah.
No.
I like, and also what they've gone for, there's a lot of sort of playful branding around it.
Oh yeah.
Because they're calling it, they have decided that it's the ultimate Christmas thing, but it's gone a bit kooky, and I don't like that. They call it wackaging, don't they, when they do that?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I've gone wackaging, Frank. Like innocent, I believe.
Oh yeah, say
Yeah.
things
Again,
like.
we're not involved with any of these people, can I just say?
No.
We've never had any products off them.
Yeah,
but
so they
do-
say things
I'm not involved with any innocent people. That is a fact.
But they say things like does not contain despondency
Yeah.
and stuff like that
Right.
in their
Yeah.
ingredients list.
Yes.
Yeah,
They've
I
had
don't
a
like that.
few things. I think the wackaging, it's a bit wackaging, this, isn't it? The whole concept of it is quite wackaging.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't understand the limited. Do they want the money or not? I mean, if I think this is some. I don't know if anyone's ever said this to Heinz before, but I think they need to back themselves a bit.
Yeah.
If you're going to make it, then you've got to hope that it's going to be a major hit.
You see,
It's not a Fabergé egg, is it? I mean, get it out there, get it on the shelves, guys.
this is the bit I
Fabergé
didn't
egg
like.
mayo would be expensive, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
We have decided we will make it a minimalist. So that's the voice of the Heinz. I'm guessing that's how they.
Hey, Heinz.
I'll tell you what I do like. I like to grind up the occasional extra strong mint for sprinkles on a winter scene that I've got at
What
home.
a lovely tip, Frank.
Yeah, try that. One of my life hacks.
Oh, do you know, I think I will try that. A lovely frosted glaze.
You never know what's. I remember when I first dipped a banana in powdered mustard, I was surprised at how nice that turned out.
Okay.
That's a good tip.
I have a slight habit, an extra strong mint habit, to the point where I'm eating at least one pack a day.
Do you still do that?
Really?
Yeah. And when I say a pack, I mean once I start, I have to eat the whole pack. I mean, it's I'm in a bad way with it.
Do they not have quite a diuretic effect? Isn't there something that might
I've never
make you,
noticed that.
a little busy?
I know Strepsils do. I found that out to my cost once.
I've always thought.
Yeah, combined with coughing, it was an absolute accident waiting to happen. But extra strong mints, they've been so bad for my teeth that my teeth at the front now are basically see-through. I've lost so much of their substance.
Is that right?
You can see
That's
my
a
tongue
shame.
moving. When you see people in their tent moving about, you can see my tongue doing that behind my front teeth. I don't think that's good.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Sorry, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 8 12 15. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show, frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
That's good. Slick that.
Yeah.
We've actually had a text in from 454 in relation to Emily's Onions group. Emily's in a I Hate Onions Reddit group.
Yeah.
Onions are awful. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Onions are. I'm afraid there is an expletive used,
okay.
but let's just forget that. Onions are awful, and there's a lovely. The image is there's an onion
Yeah.
with the no entry sign over it.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
I see.
So they
Like
don't
it's not
buy into
allowed in the house.
You know the astronomical theory that the world is just a great big onion.
One of my worst songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's awful, makes me sick.
Well, the only way
life
to
is
get
like
free of this great big onion, I can't remember the next bit, so I don't know.
If the world is a great big onion, I don't want to live in this world.
But how do you get free? All I can remember, the only way to get free of this great big onion is to...
It must be. It must be to do with love, surely.
Oh, yeah. Love versus onions.
Well, I know what I'd pick.
Why? What a battle that would be.
Well, you could, the two are
they
very
both-
awkward bedfellows,
They
may I
both
say.
make you cry.
Well, good point.
Anyway.
Slightly bleak, actually. I thought I brought the bleakness to the show.
Well...
454 has texted with an anecdote. Hi, Frank, Emily, Al. I'm an optometrist. An optometrist, that's easy for them to say. I had an old lady patient a few years ago that chewed raw onions all day, apart from during her eye test. She absolutely reeked. During ophthalmoscopy, the bit where we used to get very close to you with an elaborate torch, I physically couldn't get near her as the smell, the aura was so noxious I would have been sick. We don't have to do that bit anymore because of COVID, and I get to wear a mask all day, which is a godsend.
Yeah, yours, Dracula.
Why would she chew raw onions all day, except for during the eye
I'm
exam?
guessing there's a lot of like Culpeper's herbal things for. Do you know Culpeper's herbal?
Unless she'd been hypnotised to think that they were apples.
Oh yeah, of course.
No, but Frank,
Nobody had undone it.
it's making me...
You think McKenna might be involved? McKenna's been arrested just in case. Questioned. This poor old lady. Oh man, I love an apple. You know they say apple a day. Whoa, get McKenna.
That is my literal nightmare. A pink lady masquerading as an onion.
I bet
other
you.
way around, I mean.
I bet you that they are tied to all sorts of cures and old herbal cures. Onions, yeah.
Yeah, cure for attraction.
Yeah, well,
I mean, how could you ever look at anyone eating an onion? Instant deal breaker for me.
well, I mean, we're all different. I sometimes like to just take one section of skin of a and wear it as a gum shield for the rest of that. No, I like it.
What
Jeez.
about Onion's haircut? What's going on up there? Why have they got that weird top knot? I hate the hair of the onion.
I love a cheese and onion sandwich. One of the best things ever.
Oh, you're joking.
What you need to do is get into a cribbage league, and then you'll really appreciate them.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This just in from Matthew Moyne in County Down. Matthew says, in my opinion, you could say, so you can contact me through frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Your move, Frank Skinner.
Okay, I think County Down should be an anagram quiz show for small children. So instead
Very
of Countdown.
Very good. I like the suggestion. My worry, just so you know, Matthew, with regards to so you can contact me through, it sounds a bit beggy. It also sounds a bit like maybe on a dating site.
It
it's
sounds
not quite
like
right.
I might have to start playing the receptionist's tune. Da-da-da-da. Hello, can I help you?
You can contact me through frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
You can contact me. I don't have to start doing that. Pell Furniture. I used to work at a place where a woman said, Pell Furniture.
It sounds
And,
like you might have...
How can I help you?
Well, Frank, you might have the shop assistant's emphasis, which goes like this. Do you need any help at all?
Yeah, that's good. What I like about Can I Help You is that they could have an instrumental version of it. So they answer the phone, they go da 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 da, and everyone would know what was meant by it.
Like apparently when you call a dog over, they're not really coming because you've said their name. They're coming because you've sort of said those noises in that way.
Yes.
Like you always do.
Exactly.
No, they're fluent in a tonal language.
Yeah, but it is the tone. It's not the language.
Yeah,
though,
you're
is it?
right, Al. Absolutely.
So you could call if you were saying Rover, you could go.
It's 1972.
Yeah. you could go Biden, and it would still come. Wouldn't know any different. Yeah. I don't want to diss dogs. I'm just saying language. That's not their thing.
In an irony, apparently Joe Biden will also come over if you call Rover.
Is that right?
He's got the most 70s dog ever, which is, of course, the Alsatian / German Shepherd, whichever you prefer. Yes.
Killers,
I'm afraid
of course.
it got into well, his dog did get into a little bit of trouble.
Oh,
Did
really?
it?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
What did it do?
It was a bit of a silly Billy. He was a bit naughty.
It didn't get him to that coffin that Joe sleeps in at night.
Oh,
Him and Gary Oldman in there.
Oh, they got
he
a
does,
double bed.
do you know what? I'm just saying, I'd be very happy with that.
He's got
Me and those two of my faves, and also we'd all be hating the garlic and onions.
Oh, yeah.
Dream team.
Emily's just showed me that. That what would you call it then? A website? It's not a chat room.
It's a thread, isn't it?
And
that
it
I have on
actually,
Reddit.
it actually, one of the things it has helpful life hacks is how to say no onions, please, in many different languages.
Yeah, it said. Really? Do you know what? I've read it about 7 times. I found it incredibly useful. I mean, French we all know.
Yeah?
Do you know French?
No.
Yeah,
But,
that would suffice in France.
Sans
not
oignon. Would that do it?
That would get you understood, if not respected.
Yeah.
So, pas, I think,
That's all
was
I aim for is
normally
understood.
pas at the beginning.
Pas.
Pas
okay.
d'oignon.
Je ne sais pas.
No, that's I don't know onion.
Yeah.
So
I think they'd get that, wouldn't they? Winston Churchill, who apparently spoke fluent French, used to deliberately do it not quite right in speeches in France, and he said people liked him more for trying than for knowing.
Oh, wow.
So there's a little tip when you're in France.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Sorry, one of our readers, Glenn, has just obviously made, in all this talk of onions we've had this morning, has made a reference to Peter the Wild.
Oh, God,
saying the
yeah.
onion lady. I presume the person who wrote in, was it an optometrist, Al?
Yes.
Says maybe she was a tribute, a sort of act to Peter the Wild.
Did he eat raw onions?
Yes,
I believe
I
he
never
did.
forgot.
By the fire.
Very good, Al. By the fireside.
Oh.
He would sit, that was one of his hobbies.
He stared at fires a lot, I remember.
He stared at fires, and he would also...
We should say Peter the Wild was a personal favourite of King George the...
King George
one of the Hanoverian
Fifth?
kings.
No, it was
No, earlier than that, certainly. I
Third.
think. Yeah. It's a story that's got some kindness and some leather collar element.
Not so much, yeah.
Yeah, so
I know how you like
Also,
those.
just a bit of advice for anybody if they are making out their first CV. Probably not worth putting eating onions and staring into the fire on the hobbies list.
And also, I think it said singing songs that had no tune, which is almost impossible if you think about it to do.
I don't know. I've got a friend who does that.
No, but there's got to be a tune, even if it's been improvised.
Do you know what, though? I think there's something really joyful. Do you know that I know people that literally, I mean, they cannot sing a note, and they seem totally unaware of it. And I think good on
I'm
them.
here.
I know, and David Baddiel listens to this show, and good on him.
I had a tour manager that used to go ba 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 ba, and I realised there was no tune at all to it. It was just sound. People don't like silence, I think, which is one of the things. Can I say I'm particularly excited to get home today, as much as I love doing this show, because we've got an expanding sloth in a bowl of water.
Cool.
Yeah. be growing as we speak.
What have you been feeding it?
In 72 hours, it trebles in size, apparently.
What is it made of, this sloth?
Well, I don't know, but whatever it is, it absorbs water and it becomes much larger.
Oh. Have you ever met a sloth in real life?
I've seen them at the zoo.
Oh, have you? Are they in the night? Are they in the night garden area?
I think they are in the night garden.
Oh, I can't go in then. It gives me the creeps, that night area. So.
Oh, my name is Eagle Pickle. Is it though? Is it? Remember Eric Pickles, the Tory MP? If I was him, I would have entered the house to, oh, my name is Eric Pickles. But they don't have that sort of levity in their heart, I think.
Not enough intro music in politics.
No, there ought to be like in boxing. That would really brighten things up on parliamentary TV, which, let's face it, is a dull channel.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Boys, I need to talk to you. We've been talking about onions, the horror. Oh, the horror. All morning.
The horror.
There has been another foodstuff in the news this week. Did you see this? This theft of gnocchi.
Is that how you say it? Gnocchi?
That's how Italians say it. How do you say it?
Gnocchi.
Oh, dear.
Is that bad?
Well, it's got that
fine.
silent G thing going on, hasn't it?
I think Italians, I don't know, I'm sure if they're any Italian, but I've heard Italians would say gnocchi.
Ah.
Gnocchi.
I don't think they go gnocchi.
This is a bit like when there was an inquest when I said bolognese and you guys said it didn't, that wasn't right, and turned out it
I think
was
gnocchi
right,
is an acceptable pronunciation. It's a Jose thing or whatever.
So, gnocco. Gnocco would be the singular.
Simply, yeah.
Yeah?
So
maybe. I always feel like it sounds like what two married gnomes might have on an evening in. A bit of gnocchi.
Oh, lovely.
Anyway, can I say I really love gnocchi. I think it's the most underrated of the Italian foods. I often have gnocchi in an Italian restaurant. As a main, I'm talking about.
Because that's brilliant.
good,
because can I say I really loathe gnocchi? It's one of my worst things ever.
Yeah,
We'll get on to that.
I think it's. I see it as the sort of the Susan Boyle of the Italian cuisine. That it's very beautiful. It's it's talented and everything, but it doesn't. It never.
Is it though?
And then it's taken a while for it to emerge. And I feel this story that you're talking about, I'm now aware of, which is a sort of sad gnocchi story, as it's to do with a kidnapping. It is like when Susan Boyle suddenly came into the public eye, because now everyone's talking gnocchi.
Well, there was a truckload of gnocchi. It's worth over...
You're going to persevere with gnocchi, aren't you? I love you for that.
I'm going to persevere with the correct pronunciation. Apologies.
Well, we don't know that for certain. We haven't heard from that Italian yet, have we?
No. I did, many times, but that's another story.
Yes.
It's worth, Frank, over $30,000.
That's a lot of gnocchi. It's Australian dollars.
Yeah, so that's about half.
Yeah, about 15 grand.
So this happened in Brizzy. They were dropping supplies, someone was, off to a restaurant. And the restaurant owners, I mean, they were horrified when this happened. They're worried that this has now been passed on to the black market.
There's a black market for gnocchi.
I think it's more likely to have been passed on to the farmer's market, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who is on the black market? Sort of catapult enthusiasts.
Yeah.
It's anyway, it's lovely. They'd made it, hadn't they? We should say, shouldn't we? There's two guys known as the Gnocchi brothers. Is that right?
Or Gnocchi brothers.
Yeah, all that.
Aren't they known as the Gnocchi brothers? It's double. So good they named it twice, I think.
See, if they'd gone for the singular, I think Nocco sounds like a knock joke, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I miss that. And they own a restaurant called the Gnocchi Shop.
It's not called
No, it's
that,
not. It's not called.
Frank.
I got.
It sound disgusting.
I
It's
got
not.
that bit wrong.
The food's disgusting. No, their food is
Well,
probably
apparently
lovely.
their gnocchi is sort of, I'm not on a retainer from the Gnocchi brothers, Gnocchi Nat, not Nicky Gnocchi New, but apparently their gnocchi is legendary, and they have like gnocchi restaurants that just specialise in gnocchi or gnocchi. Which Gnocchi Wilson, that's what they say. If we can call Wilson, Gnocchi Wilson would have been brilliant. There'd be so many opportunities.
Called the restaurant.
Yeah, gnocchi. Oh man, because it's endless possibilities. Did they find any of this missing gnocchi on heaven's door?
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We've heard from Richard.
Hey, we've just had an email. Oh, you've seen it,
go on,
have
Al.
you, Emily?
No, you out.
I feel I
you.
should read this rather than you. Spare your blushes. Frank, Emily has the correct pronunciation. Although I am not Italian, I lived in Italy for 4 years and speak Italian very well. I have an A pass in AS Italian as well. Richard.
Okay, Richard.
That's about
thank you.
the gnocchi conversation.
Gnocchi.
Fair enough.
We've now
Gnocchi.
established it's Frank. Can I just say, you
he didn't say
accepted
that well,
that
did he?
so great. No, I thought it was lovely the way he did it.
Oh, really?
It's one of the
Oh,
best
it
I've ever
sounded a
heard
bit-
him.
I mean, this is an English guy, some English guy.
There you
Been
go,
after
Al. It didn't take
Yeah.
long.
I mean, just because he wasn't corrected by the polite Italians.
Okay.
No, okay.
How do you say
Gnocchi.
sore loser in Italian?
Gnocchi.
Yes,
I
gnocchi.
don't know.
You know what? For that alone, I let you off.
One thing I
We've been
like, can I
discussing
say?
this.
You know, these guys are like they're like seen as like super businessmen types now
Yes.
because of the success of the knocking
Oh,
knocking shop, and
Yeah.
they
Gnocchi Wilson.
they gave in the midst of this interview about being robbed, they gave a little thing about starting your own business. I thought, all right. And they said, don't listen to the naysayers, which is
That's
what
what
they
they
told
say.
me when I started at the local stables.
I like that.
I thought it was a bit cruel.
They also said, I hope the truck is returned, but for God's sake, I pray that they treat the gnocchi with care. Please
Yeah.
don't throw it out. It's a beautiful, fresh gnocchi.
Is it a refrigerated truck?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, here's
It's
this
a
one.
refrigerated truck and
I'm guessing-
$1,000 worth of gnocchi.
I'm guessing it's a buyer's market, fresh gnocchi, because it's not going to last that long, is it? Does a
Yeah.
refrigerated truck continue to refrigerate once you switch the engine off?
Well, it's all gone
Yes, I
a bit.
think
Does a
so.
tree fall in a forest?
Yeah. You think it does, Al?
I think it must do, yeah.
Okay, fair
Surely
enough.
it'd be like an ice cream van because they don't just chill while the engine's on, do they? Oh no, maybe they do because they all leave their engine running, don't they?
They're not allowed
well,
anymore,
there you go.
excuse me.
Anyway,
What I like about this story is that it's sort of inspiring for food thieves, although I think the absolute protocol is that we disapprove of theft.
Oh, indeed.
But I think most food theft is when you say stuff like, "Oh, look at that, a flying cow," and then you steal a chip off somebody's plate. Most food theft is like single chip, maybe double chip if you're really ambitious. But £30,000 worth of gnocchi and a refrigerated van is really like they've raised the stakes a bit there, haven't they?
Yeah, I think
Don't
that-
bring steaks into it.
They
That's
probably saw it parked somewhere and they probably thought, well, opportunity gnocchis. Anyway, watch my show this week. Yes, watch my show on Tuesday night,
Yes.
Sky Arts. We were in Somerset last week with Wordsworth and Coleridge, but this week, where do we go from here? Down to the lake, I fear. We'll be in the Lake District. Check it out. And thank you for listening to us today. And if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.